Texas cattle ranchers have been audited by the IRS, issued dire warning to Americans. So I thought this would be a pretty interesting story, especially since Biden just signed the Inflation Reduction Act. So, Texas cattle ranchers David and Deborah Hajda issued a dire warning to America's middle class after Democrats' spending bill passed both houses of Congress, allowing provisions for approximately $80 billion in IRS funding, a majority of which is dedicated to enforcement. The Raising Five Cattle Company ranchers spoke with Dana Perino on America's Newsroom Tuesday, where they recounted the grueling tax audit they experienced 13 years ago. So we got audited over basically a 7800 engine rebuild on a very old tractor, Deborah said. They just basically said this was a red flag and we're going to audit you and we're coming to your house, she added, which is crazy. Hajda said she asked if she could fax her bank records to the IRS, but they refused to give her the option. Instead, they came to her house and demanded all of her financial records in person. I took out our box of receipts and we handed it to him, and I said, "Here's your receipts. We weren't hiding anything," she said. Perino asked if the IRS agent sought out the ranchers simply to fill a quota. Probably. They said they flagged it because our expenses were high that year, and it was because of this repair, David responded. So, Deborah Hajda, Raising Five Cattle Company on Twitter, I guess. Well, I guess Facebook, it actually is. August 2022. Can you imagine a government coming into your home and you have to give them everything? It shouldn't have happened to us. It's about to happen to you, too, if you own a business. So the Hajjas said they could not afford to replace the tractor. They kept all records of expenses for the necessary repairs. However, the auditor would not give up so easily. He wasn't satisfied. He kept digging, and he ended up nailing us. Our tax person was giving us 80% on our work vehicles, and he said you can only do 50%, David said. I was very naive about the situation. I had no idea of the power, the scope of the audit going in 3 years of my life. And me having no control over that, no control over the information he was given, Deborah said. It was very invasive. You feel very attacked because that guy wanted to go back and say, "I got her." She went on to issue a warning to other middle class Americans who could soon endure the same process. They want to get you. If they're coming after you for an audit, they don't want to see your receipt. They want to nitpick your life apart, and that's not what the American dream is for self employment, small business. So let's check out some of the comments about that. Let's see. I love metrosexuals. They actually believe the supermarket produces their food, so who needs farmers, right? Well, okay, that's weird. You have to be a Mormon to cuss ranchers and farmers with your mouth full. High handed, single minded bureaucrats with their own agenda of self importance and power over the taxpayer, with a mindset of guilty only regardless of defense. The recent IRS application called for people willing to carry a gun and use deadly force if necessary since removed from website. Is this right for us? Farm subsidiaries are actually the perfect example of socialism. She should be mad at her tax person. I guess she doesn't know what an accountant is for claiming a deductible that was higher than what was allowed. Plenty of people get worked over by the IRS. She's not one of them. Genius says 50 billionaires receive unnecessary farm socialist subsidies every year. Hopefully this bill won't be funded starting in January and no new IRS agents will be hired. You've got to be kidding. They were audited 13 years ago and they feel the need to complain about it on television. I don't think they know how ridiculous they sound. Get a better accountant and quit complaining. Hashtag snowflake. If you let a CPA or other person do your taxes and you sign that tax return without checking the accuracy of that return, then you are liable. The audit is for the entire tax return and they go over it with a fine tooth comb. Happened to my father and it's a big pain in the arse. The booty. He had to pay the taxes plus penalty and interest. Relax, the farm subsidy bill is only approaching $1 trillion. Ha 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 ha. Thanks. Farmers are the biggest welfare queens in America. You can boycott them, just stop eating. Interesting. And the reason why I find it interesting is like, one, yeah, this was like 13 years ago, right? But it goes and shows the potential outcomes of hiring so many more IRS agents, right? Because there's going to be more situations where IRS agents are going to be combing over things with a fine tooth comb and be like, hey, what's going on over here? Oh, this seems a little bit sketchy. I think you probably owe us, a little bit more money, right? And we're going to make sure whether or not you owe us more money, kind of thing. So I think it's, I think if you are a business of any kind and you are relying fully on the trust that you have on your accountant, that could end badly if you don't kind of like double check their work in a sense, right? Now, obviously, you probably don't have to go over it with like a fine tooth comb, but also you need to make sure that your accountant or whatever that you work with, your tax preparer, has really good insurance as well. Because if that's the case, that will end up protecting you in a lot of situations if it was the fault of the tax preparer, right? Like if they made a suggestion or if they screwed something up, which cost you like I don't know, way more money in like your tax bill because they screwed up somewhere, then you can be like, "Hey, this is what happened." Their insurance will basically end up covering the damages and you'll move on, right? But that's why honestly you should not be doing your own taxes, period. But you should do your best to make sure that if something does happen, if you do end up getting audited by the IRS, that one, you were using a trustworthy preparer, and two, that the preparer actually has a decent insurance policy, just in case something were to happen. If you want to learn how to get out of debt and master your money, go to 40inbox.com.